Guys, can we have a round of applause for David Fastuca? Thank you. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. So, just tell us a little bit about those early days and when you started off and you were the first-time founder, please.
Sure. So it started when I was 14. I was in high school and I just loved design. So any minute I had, I was designing things for friends and family. I was taking on little jobs on the side. And I thought I'd start a business, and I didn't know what starting a business was. I thought, I'll just go get a logo, business cards, I've got a business. So I did that. I went to Snap Printing at the day, and I got some cards printed and started pretending I had a business until I spoke with my cousin Ross, who I've been working with for the last 18 years together. He was like, what are you doing, you idiot? He goes, you just got business cards and you infringe on someone else's name that you just made up. So quickly, at that time too, Ross is 3 years older than me, and he was doing the first multimedia design course in Australia, starting to show the age a little bit. So we decided to put our skills together. I was the design guy, and Ross was the front end code guy. So after school, on weekends, we'd go to his parents' house, kitchen table, and we'd do work for friends and family. And we did that for about 5 or 6 years. Until I went to university, and we went to the same university at the time, and continued on with our little business. The name changed from the first name, you're going to laugh, it was called Cuz Design, because we're cousins. Great branding. Love it. And so we slowly built up the company, and we got to a stage where we started to take things a bit more seriously. So I had finished university. Ross at that stage had got a job in IT, and we're still working together. And I made friends with another graphic designer who couldn't do any of the online work, so he gave that all to us. And that was enough to pay myself full time and to do that as a full-time gig. So I started doing that for a few years, and then we had an opportunity to join this group, and they're in education, and the whole idea was to join with these guys and to have the opportunity to grow with them, and that would give us exposure to thousands of people within the education space. We joined them, and we're still doing our creative design work, and things started to grow a bit more, and then we had an idea of getting to a product. At that stage, we're still doing the services, web design. Freelancer came onto the market, so they started to cut into a lot of the sort of level of work that we were getting into. People were able to get it done a lot cheaper. So Ross and I wanted to build a product and build a product team, and we had an idea to build something in education. And we pitched it to a friend of ours at that time who was seemingly quite successful himself. And he loved the idea, and he said, yep, I would invest, I'll give you $500,000. And we're like, perfect. It's great. Like, we were thinking I was 19 at the stage. So we're like, this is easy. Ross quit his job, and we started working on it. And you're going to see a bit of hindsight here experience. So we started working on the project, and then it was time to get our first payment from the investment. Payment didn't come. And we're like, this is not good. A month later, payment still didn't come. So when we kept approaching the guy for payment, he got done for embezzlement. So his actually business was taking money and using the money to pay other people. So he wasn't paying us shit. And Ross had just left his job, and we started building this product. We still had our services side going, and we're pretty staffed because we're like, well, that was just enough to keep me going. And we just sat there one day just in shock, and we're like, hindsight kicks in. Like, we should have asked for money at the start, and we were young and we were so excited that this was an opportunity, and it was just all came crashing down.
Was that the closest point that you came to maybe calling it a day at that point?
Oh no, there's like another 20 times after that. So at that stage, just went, look, we're still young, we're living at home, and we're like, we'll split everything that we're doing at the stage, and we'll build it back up. And we did. So we built it back up, our service side of the business. We started taking on bigger paid jobs, and then the iPhone came out, and the app gold rush. So we had an idea for an app. And at that stage, throughout those years, we had other crazy ideas. We started a clothing brand, failed. I was telling some people earlier, we started an e-commerce sort of brand. And this is before Amazon, before Shopify. And we went down all the Bridge Road to all the brick and mortar stores, and we're saying, we'll put your store online and people can buy your stuff and you can ship it out to them. We got laughed out of everyone. So I think the takeaway from that is timing. You know, it was a great idea, and we didn't persist with it, and like idiots, it could have been Amazon. But it's like the timing was too early for that sort of thing. So we had a few things like that that just started up and failed. Friends of ours ran a nightclub in Moonee Ponds in the west of Melbourne, and did really well. And then an opportunity came up for a larger space, and we were friends with them, and we became really good at marketing and brand. And they approached us to join them in this new bar. And we thought, nightclub, we're young, this could be cool. But we thought the intention was, do that, it won't be too much work, and we'll get a lot of cash, and we can hire people for the engineering effort to build the apps, the ideas that we had. And that was another stupid mistake. We learned some great things, but we ended up working 2 full-time jobs. We're going from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday in our web design marketing business, to then nightclub owners, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we're doing like 90, 100-hour weeks, and that's like probably been like on the good side. The first 6 months were amazing of the bar. Things were working. It was a cash cow. We're about to start hiring. And then, almost like good old Game of Thrones, winter came. We were doing so well that the local competition around the area weren't too happy. So, look, that's another whole story. The nightclub scene is something that is a unique field. And I was, at that stage, about to get married, and we're going to start a family, and I would just be an absentee father, and I just was hating life, and we got real depressed. So from nights where we have like, I think the bar was licensed for 800, and we had about 1,800 in on some nights, so breaking rules as you do in those early days, to nights where, I kid you not, we had like 5 people come through, and when like I was at the door some nights, and my now wife was at the door, and my cousin and his fiance, very family business. It break your heart. Like, we took it very personally. So it came to a moment where we were doing these stupid hours, weren't getting much money, things were falling apart because Ross got distracted because he had to, and he was dealing with all the nightclub stuff, spending Mondays and Tuesdays at the police station because of incidents that were happening at the bar. And then I was there trying to keep the business alive, and so it was mental.
So was that a catalyst for focusing on something more true to your heart at that point?
That was a reset moment. I'll never forget the chat we had, and we looked at each other and we're like, are we going to give this another crack? Or are we just going to go get full-time jobs, work half as much, and probably earn more? And when you look at it, it's like, shit, like that's not a bad... We always look at the worst case scenario. In anything that we do, we're like, what is the worst that can happen? And we are very fortunate here in this beautiful country. We can easily, take a chance, and if all fails, you can go back and get a job. And it's until we experience other cultures and other countries, we are so lucky that we can do that, and do that relatively easily. So to take a chance to go and pursue a passion, to pursue a dream, it's a privilege that we all have. And if we don't do that, if we don't take that chance, then it's like, look, why? Like, why are we living for? To help someone else's life? Like, if you've got a dream, if you've got a burning desire, we can all take that chance, because the worst case scenario ain't that bad. So we sat down and we had that chat with each other, and we're like, nah, let's give it another crack. So we met we went to an event, not too dissimilar to this, and we met these 2 guys who were doing an anti-energy drink. So it was like a relaxing drink. It was called Calm in a Can. 2 awesome guys. We sat next to them, we hit it off, and so they were bringing this product to market. It was the first in Australia, it was big in the US. They had investment to produce the product, because it's quite a cost a lot of money to bring something like that out. But they didn't have any money for the marketing, for the branding, for the digital side. So at that stage, we had a bit of spare time as we were rebuilding the business, and we said, well, if we put a few days to this project, rather than charging you, we'll take $1 a can of everything we sell online. They loved it, because it's like, well, it's a win-win for them. They get a business, an online thing, and we get an opportunity to potentially make more money than what we're going to charge them. Little did we know that they told their investor that these 2 crazy idiots were going to put in all their time for potentially selling their drinks online and making some money back. He loved it. He was like, these guys are putting skin in the game. Little did we know that they were getting quotes for 100 grand, 150 grand to bring their business online. So instantly that investor wanted to meet with us. We connected really well. And like Ross and I always had the belief that we could do anything. We just need the opportunity. We didn't have the network. We didn't have the people around us at that stage. Entrepreneurship wasn't even really a word back then. It was just like we did businesses because our family, our dads started businesses, so we thought like that was what you did. But entrepreneurship and all that sort of rage and that word, I don't think we even heard it back then. So we met with this guy, his name was Philip, and we connected instantly, and he worked out of this mansion in St Kilda. It was like your first sort of co-working space, but it was just the businesses that he was involved with. So he invited us over and he said, look, move in here, rent free, and we'll see what happens. I like you guys, I like you back yourselves, you've got great work ethic, and let's see what happens. And then that was the moment that changed a lot of things for Ross and I, because that's when opportunities started to happen, and that was where Locomote was born out of in that stage.
Mm-hmm. So when that was born, what was then your main focus at that time? So obviously you've been pulled in a few directions from there, but did you have to really fine tune what you were working on at that time?
Because we've been burnt in the past, our focus was still split. So Locomote, for those who don't know, was a corporate travel platform. So businesses, when they need to travel interstate or internationally, would use a platform like ours to get approvals and to book their trips. Think of it like Webjet, but for corporates. At that stage, it was still very early. We hadn't really proven the model. All we really did was a pitch deck, and we started to get some sales in before we wrote a loan of code. But even still, then Ross and I were hesitant to let go of all the work that we built on the side. So I think it was in 2011-12, that summer, if you visited locomote.com, you'd see branding, websites, marketing, corporate travel software. So the split was there. When we changed and when we really focused was probably when we started to hire engineers into the company to focus on Locomote. And then we just went, we can't do this no more, splitting our focus, because I was running that while Ross was focusing on the product side, and I was doing all the design work for the product side. So we thought, here's our chance. We've got an opportunity. We've said for years ago, we want to work in a product and build a team around that and try and build a global business out of it. Here's our opportunity. Let's take a gamble. So what we end up doing is like cutting loose of all these other clients who had been with us since we were 14, some of them. And that was a big moment, because it was a big decision to make, because once you cut them and sell them off to someone else, you can't go back to that. But that was the moment where we focused on the software product.
Yeah. Would you put it down, the successes that you had after that then? Would you put it down to the amount of risk that you took and the opportunities that you jumped at? Is it a case of that learning as you go along, or was there something else that played a part to being successful?
Look, we had some great mentors around us as well. So that's like another big thing, is to surround yourself with people that have been there and that have done that and that can help guide the way. You're still going to make 100 mistakes, and we made plenty. Like I remember in the years of Locomote, we almost shut up shop 5 times plus, to moments where it was Sunday and payroll was Tuesday, and like your typical story, but look, it causes a shitload of stress. Like, we don't have enough money to pay the guys. And one of our proudest things throughout the whole Locomote journey is that we're able to fund the company, pay everyone, and never miss a payment, even when things were looking like we had our darkest days. But it was that focus got us through, and I think we just had crazy resilience. We're like, this is opportunity. We don't know if we're going to get it again. We're not going to let this go.
And that resilience, then obviously it's a family relationship there with your cousin. So can you talk a little bit about that relationship and maybe any times that's maybe boiled over?
Oh yeah, okay. We've got a unique relationship. We're cousins, but more like brothers. We spend so much time together. We probably spend the most amount of time together than we do with anyone else in our family. But we argue like crazy. We're two sort of, I'll say I'm the hot-blooded Italian, he's more the calmer one, but we'd fight quite a lot. And I'll never forget when we started getting someone having employees, Ross and I would be arguing about a design decision or something small, and it'd get heated. And we're like, nah, this is wrong, and there'd be swear words thrown at each other. And then we'd finish the argument and be like, all right, cool. And then we look to our left, and then we see our engineers looking at us like, just like, and we're like, guys, it's all right, this is normal. But it was funny, then every time someone new started, it was like they had the baptism of fire, Ross and I arguing, because we worked in an open space room all together. And then everyone quickly got used to it, and it just becomes second nature. And that's just how we're really upfront and honest with each other. And having co-founders, as Ben spoke about earlier, is really helpful. We're very yin and yang. We're rarely on the same wavelength in relation, like when things are up, someone else is there to help if the other person is down. Look, I don't think we could have done what we did if we didn't have each other.
So those, baptisms of fire that you call it is part of like the culture, would you say? Is there anything else that you tie into the culture? So staff members that you maybe look for or you expect of them? Can you talk a little bit about the culture that you're trying to create as well?
Yeah, look, the culture is something that, again, it was our first time building a culture of more than just Ross and ourselves. We work quite hard, so being there before the staff was and being there even after, when the guys and everyone part of the team saw how committed we were to what we were doing, it sort of brought them along. And I didn't realise that till later. I'll never forget one scenario where we had two of our engineers working on our biggest client of the time, and we're going to go live. And it was huge. It was our second client ever with Locomote, and it was the ANZ Bank. So it's like, you can't stuff this up. And it was like make or break of the company. And we're about to go live the Monday morning, and things were still going wrong on the Sunday night. And I couldn't do shit. Yeah. I'm not an engineer, but I was like the cheerleader of the pom-pom. Like, come on guys, we can do it. And then this was Sunday, and the guys were at home, and I'm like, I'm not going to sleep until we set this up. So like we're on I think it was Slack and email, and I'm like, I'll just stay up and just can bounce ideas off, but I can't help in any way apart from I'm just going to stay awake. And they thought, yeah, whatever. But we ended up doing like an all-nighter, and we stayed awake with them, and I just thought, look, I just want to make sure that the project got done, and if anything happened, I was there to react to it, because we'll go on live at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. And it wasn't until later where the guys just we joked about it years later, and then Dave stayed up with us, during that time. He couldn't do shit. He was useless, but he was there, for us. And we were remote, so they were at home, I was at home, but it meant a lot that I had their back, even though I couldn't really help in that situation. So doing things like that, even though it was forced upon, I just felt compelled to do that, really builds and solidifies a culture. And we had those guys up until the day we sold Locomote. We had a very loyal crew, and just those little things. Like, culture's not your ping pong tables and your beers and your parties that you do. It's the things that you do consistently, day to day, that show the team that you care, that you're there for them, and then you believe in the vision. Otherwise, why would they believe in what you're doing?
Totally. So can you talk a little bit about where you are today, maybe a little bit about Ambisie, and just kind of, your day-to-day activities? Yeah,
sure. So we exited Locomote, finished up in August of this year, and then just went straight into a new business. It didn't happen instantly like that. It happened over a period of time. A friend of ours, the co-founder of Ambisie, Liz, approached us in January with an idea, and she'd been running Project Gen Z, who's a social enterprise, and what they do is they run programs within schools and teach the students life skills and entrepreneurship. And then once a year, she'll get 20 entrepreneurs from Australia and business owners and takes them to Cambodia, and we go to the Sunrise Village, which is a youth village, and we would share our stories, our skill sets, and then over the last 3 days run an apprentice challenge, like the TV show. And what she found while doing this, and she's been doing it for 4 years now, was that the storytelling part, when we got up and when we shared our story, that had a lot of impact on the students. It gave them motivation and inspiration. But the issue was, being an event-based type business, it was hard to scale. So when she approached Ross and I, it was more just to get some ideas on how she could build something in a technology way, because she knew that was our experience, on how to have more scale in that. And look, we got kids, I've got 3, Ross has got 2. It's something that sort of struck a chord with us. And as we spoke to more and more people, everyone kept saying, I wish I had something in school that gave me more exposure to different careers and shared more stories. Because when you're a young person, you don't have a network like we do now. And even now, we struggle to build big networks. So it's how could we put that on tap for a young person when they're studying from grade 6? So the idea sort of simmered away, and then it turned into what it is now, Ambisie. And Ambisie is the South African word for ambition. And what we're trying to do with Ambisie is connect students with local talent, but not just local, but from people from all over the world, where they share their stories, they share what their education life was like, they share what their journey was like from school to get into the career they are now, to help inspire them, to motivate them, so now our youth can follow their passion. And we're delivering that in a video model that schools can subscribe to and share with their students.
So that's quite early days then?
Yeah, what do we
very
month
early,
5?
5 months.
Yeah.
So what does the future hold for Ambisie, and maybe more importantly yourself?
Yeah, I was talking about this earlier. You forget what startup life is like. The Locomote journey was quite a fast one. So we had started, built and sold within about 4.5 years, which is quite rare. And now that we're back in the startup sort of grind, it's a shock to the system, but it's exciting because we found something new that we're really passionate about, really resonates with our values. And because we've learned so much in the past of the do's and the don'ts, we feel like we're more equipped. Not saying that this is going to be a massive success. We're hoping it's going to be a global success, but it's still going to have the same challenges, the same roadblocks that we experience in all our other businesses. But now we've got the experience to say, well, and to have the patience to know that this is normal, to push through this. We feel that the timing is right. So what the future holds is we're doing a lot of testing at the moment with it. We're recording a lot of the content, seeing if it adds value to students and to the teachers, trying to get school support from universities to help spread the word, and hopefully, have some great success next year. And if we can nail the content and the platform and the value for the students, then it's onto new countries and trying to expand from there.
Cool. And just a little bit about time management. So now are you able to manage your time more effectively? Can you talk a little bit about work-life balance for you and what that looks like?
So jealous after looking at Ben's process and how strict that is. At the moment now, in the early days, you're wearing so many hats. We're very fortunate that we've got 3 very capable founders with very different skill sets. So now we're dividing and conquering in each different area. There's a lot of trust between us 3. We've known each other for a long time, especially Ross and I. So now we're just trying to set ourselves like a sort of weekly sort of goals. We touch base every week as to what we're doing, who needs help. But it's still at the moment finding your feet, because it's those early days. We still don't know the right sort of growth model yet, what's going to work. So it's a lot of trial and error, and but we're accepting of that. Are we patient? Probably not. It's a hard thing to be patient, but we just know that this is part of the journey. We're giving ourselves a good timeline to get to where we want to get to, and we're just trying to get there as fast as we can.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Going to have to hold it there, David. So guys, can we have a round of applause for David Fastuca of Ambisie? Awesome, David. Thank you.